This is Capital Games. I'm the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Something happened this past... when did this get announced? Yesterday? Tuesday? Tuesday, Nintendo came up from upon high of the Nintendo Koopa Mountains and decided to hoist upon us these words that there is a direct coming the following day. And that was, of course, this past Wednesday. And they released it. So we're going to talk about what was announced and see if anything that caught our fancy that either we're interested in or we think might bring in some decent sales, I guess, when it comes out. So why don't we begin with basically what were you expecting before this was when this was announced? So to be pretty honest, Zero, I wasn't expecting much out of this one. I was expecting a little on Zelda, a little bit on some games that we've already know are coming out, and I wasn't expecting much else from that. What were you expecting before this came out?
With a lot of the rumblings on Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I was thinking, just, okay, maybe half the presentation is going to be like a gigantic deep dive into Tears of the Kingdom, and then, they'll probably pepper it with just a little bit of stuff here and there of, hey, we've got some small surprises coming out while you wait for Zelda to come out later this year. So that was kind of the expectation I had. So my expectations were pretty low.
Yeah, mine were fairly low too. There has been talk for the past month now that Nintendo's probably going to have a pretty light year this year. And even though this is technically all that was announced is going to be first half of this year, suppose there's a few that aren't, but most of it is first half. I'm still under the impression that it's going to be a pretty light year for Nintendo on this one, at least, either with big announcements or just in general. So why don't we just get into what was shown off and announced during this Direct? The first thing that was shown off in some aspect was Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 was announced in the last Direct that they had, correct?
Yeah.
So they showed off some gameplay of Pikmin 4. It looks to have a new camera angle where you're kind of behind the back of your main Pikmin guy. And then they showed off some new Pikmin and I guess an ability that you're going to have with a big dog that you're going to be with around too. So it looks like Pikmin. I mean, that's it, really. I got out of it. It looks pretty. It looks really nice, and it looks like Pikmin. But Pikmin is popular is popular a fair word? Because as much as people do talk about Pikmin, it doesn't sell very well. I mean, let's look at total sales for Pikmin right now. Go ahead. What are your thoughts on Pikmin 4?
The addition of the ice Pikmin is interesting, especially since water has usually been a major issue with Pikmin. That if you see like water, then pretty much the game in the past has told you avoid water unless you want your Pikmin to drown. So it's kind of neat mechanically that you now have ice Pikmin that basically you can toss them in water, they don't die, but they have the ability to freeze the water to make like a walkway. So it gives some nice mobility options, which I think is kind of neat. And then this freezing mechanic doesn't just stop there. You can actually freeze enemies in place. So if you've got like a real troublesome boss that is just doing massive damage to your armies and stuff like that, you can just toss a whole bunch of ice Pikmin on them, and then they'll freeze the enemy, and then you can just have the rest of your Pikmin army just go absolute bonkers, just beating face on the troublesome enemy. So kind of a neat mechanic there. The big dog-like Pikmin monster is kind of cool because it seems like it can do some major tanking against some of the more meatier bosses. But it looks like you can also use it in a puzzle-solving sense because in the trailer that they showed off, it showed like a barrier that was a bunch of like terracotta planting pots that you just had this dog Pikmin just just completely smash with its head and just clear the way for you and your Pikmin and everything to kind of proceed on. And then the last mechanic that the dog had was the ability to drag enemies, which is kind of a cool thing, because it seems like there might be some puzzle solving applications involved with that. So I'm definitely real curious on just how it'll turn out. But just ultimately we'll just kind of have to see what happens from here.
I'm interested too. I like the Pikmin series. The thing is, it's just that Pikmin, for I guess its popularity and for what people seem to really enjoy the games, it doesn't really sell gangbusters for Nintendo. I'm looking at the franchise numbers right now. So far, Pikmin has sold 7.6 million copies worldwide throughout all of its games, and the most that one game has done is 2.2 million, which is Pikmin 3 Deluxe for Switch. So that made out of a remake 2.2 million, which I guess out of a remake is not bad, but for a franchise that I guess would be considered, is it a tentpole franchise for Nintendo? It's more like a niche franchise, you would say, right?
It's definitely niche.
Yeah. I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the updated graphics and the updated tech in it, and to me, it looks like for this to be a success, I would say 4 million is probably what it has to sell, and I don't think it reaches that. I think it will reach about 2 to 3 in there. What is your estimation on that?
I would say, since it's a bit niche, it may just kind of hit maybe 2 million within the first year, mostly because, again, I think it's just kind of niche, and I know for the most part Pikmin fans are hungry.
Oh yes.
The remake of 3 was nice because no longer did people have to go and break out their old Wii U consoles just to play it, and then play it with the clumsy sort of 2-screen sort of setup that Nintendo's wanting you to play that game originally. And yes, I am aware that Nintendo did do an update on Pikmin 3 that allows you to set up the Wii U tablet on a stand and then use your Wiimote and your nunchuck to kind of control the game, sort of like a Wii game. But I think it's just going to be kind of a niche thing again. So
yeah,
that's why I'm a little bit more conservative on my thought that first year we might see it just kind of cap out and peter off right at about 2 million units sold.
Yeah, this is not a franchise that if it doesn't sell well in the first 6 months, it's going to just have a long tail. It's just going to be whoever wants it will want it in that first 6 months, and then that's it. And it'll be interesting to see what happens from there. Like, this is not a franchise that if someone buys a Switch, they're going to jump out and buy Pikmin. That's not what Pikmin does on this one. So, yeah, I think we'll know where it stands within 6 months of it being released. So that's coming out in July 21st. That's actually not a bad date, because there's really not much that I know that's coming out around that time. So that could help in that end. So Pikmin 4 coming out July 21st. One of the announcements that surprised first was Samba de Amigo Party Central, which is coming out this summer. I wasn't expecting a sequel to Samba de Amigo. That surprised me. Rhythm games, it has some popularity to it, but motion detecting games and stuff like that really don't. So this is kind of a curiosity. It's cool to see it, but I don't see this selling well at all. I think this will be a nice niche curiosity, and unless it's like a $20 game, which I doubt it will be, I do not see this selling well at all. What do you think?
Yeah, this one is a bit of a blast from the past because I remember the first game was a wacky Dreamcast game.
Oh, yeah.
Had the proprietary maracas controllers, and it was the wildest shit on the planet. And having this being the second thing on the Direct, I was like, whoa, where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah.
I mean, it's neat because of the fact that, well, there's no more need to have like proprietary controllers. They can use the accelerometers and the Joy-Cons now. So kind of neat. And I mean, it looks like it'll be fun if you enjoy this sort of thing. But I think the thing that made it real interesting is that there is a world tour mode, and essentially it's just a Samba de Amigo battle royale sort of mode, where you basically compete with a bunch of people online, and then progressively as the game goes, the game will start eliminating people who don't make the scores and everything. So it's kind of neat to see that be a thing. But yeah, just I don't think it'll be a big seller, especially considering that the original game on Dreamcast wasn't a big seller either. So much luck to Sega or any Samba de Amigo fans out there. But yeah, just I don't think it'll be as hot a seller as many people would like.
Yeah, unless it's a cheap game, and that for like Switch fans as a curiosity. But if it's not that, then forget it. It's not selling very well at all. So I'm expecting that to just be released. It'll be a curiosity thing, and then we don't hear anything else from it at all. So that comes out this summer. No date other than that at this point. The next one's Fashion Dreamer, coming out this year. No firm release date. I understand that the Switch is a system that is more evergreen, so you're gonna have a lot more female more females in their audience. They're gonna have more people who are not necessarily hardcore gamers that are gonna want to play games like this. I'm real curious. The style savvy games, did they sell well? I mean,
I think they've sold pretty well. I know that they have quite a following in Japan.
Yeah.
And I think the following in the U.S. is and in both the U.S. and Europe is generally fine. So, but yeah, just kind of interesting to kind of see Fashion Dreamer sort of get like top billing in it. So that was kind of an interesting curiosity for me.
According to vgsales.fandom.com, Style Savvy has made out of it looks like 3 or 4 versions, 5.87 million copies sold.
Wow.
So that's surprising. So okay, then that makes more sense. Okay, so I know this is not a Style Savvy game, but this is same. I'm guessing either same type of game or not even. It's probably a little more in depth than that. But if there is that big of an audience, that might not sell so bad, actually. And it doesn't look entirely cheap either, but it looks updated enough where I guess somebody who can look at that who may have been a Style Savvy fan and go, oh, I could definitely want to play that, and you can have a sale there. That all is dependent on price too, because if this is a $60 game, I don't think it's selling that much. But the Style Savvies were, I think, $20 on the DS at the time. I don't know. I was not big into Style Savvy when it came out. So
yeah, I think they were priced standard like DS games, so about $40.
Oh, okay. I think that might become a breakout hit to a certain extent, but I don't know how big of a hit. Let's say, I don't know, 1 million copies, maybe? I mean, if one of them can make 1.2, because looking at the sales right now, in 2017, it only made 450,000 copies, or it only sold that much. But in 2012, it made 1.44 Style Savvy. So, and again, they may not be the same brand, but if Style Savvy can do that, I don't see why Fashion Dreamer couldn't, if it has a good enough marketing push.
I think for me, my curiosity was more just on just how interesting the game looked. And the premise is that you're kind of an influencer and you're supposed to kind of dress your female character up to kind of get her up the social media chain and everything. So you're kind of liking other people's outfits and all this other sort of stuff. So again, just I thought it was interesting, and it'll just be interesting to see how this one does, especially if one of the previous one of the Style Savvy games was able to sell through like a million some odd copies and everything. Yeah, just I'm definitely going to be curious on this. I know I have some friends who really like games like this, and games like Style Savvy and love Mickey and stuff like that. So I'll definitely be curiously watching, because if this is kind of in the vein of one of those games, then yeah, just I can already see some of my friends just jumping out and going, I gotta have this one.
Yeah, teen girls will probably get really into this. And let me ask you a question. What do you think is this best-selling game on the Switch?
Breath of the Wild almost seems like the trick answer for this.
Yeah. You would be wrong. It's Animal Crossing.
Ah, yeah.
And my bet is that it's because of the pandemic, and when that came out, that Animal Crossing became the best-selling one. But
Yep.
Animal Crossing, as much as that is an evergreen product, I think has more of a, it has more of an appeal for women and teen girls to a certain extent, that those who bought that game, I think who are in the teen female demographic would actually gravitate towards that game. So if they decide to market it towards those groups, I think then this game could actually turn out to get really good sales. But they would have to find a way to market that. So my bet is you're going to see a lot of push notifications and a lot of advertisements on the Switch for those people who are still playing Animal Crossing to get involved and want to try out this game. There's a demo now. You can go ahead and download on the eShop, something along those lines. And if they do it that way, then I think this could actually be a good seller. Otherwise, I'm not sure after that point, unless they do the rounds of it showing up on daytime talk shows or on GMA or something along those lines. So we'll see what happens with that. That's coming out 2023, no firm release. Dead Cells Return to Castlevania, not much really to talk about. It's an expansion to Dead Cells based on Castlevania. It's coming out in March. I still haven't seen anything about a price for this. But
I do have an update on that.
Go ahead.
Because I'm on the eShop right now on my Switch.
Okay.
The price for the expansion will be $10.
Oh, instant sell. There we go. That was the one thing I was worried about, because if they were going to charge $15-20 for it, then I was like, that could be pricey. But 10, forget it. It's good. That's a sell, don't you think?
Yeah. And supposedly it'll be a new storyline featuring 2 levels and 3 bosses. And
okay.
Motion Twin on the product page says that apparently it's going to be the biggest expansion yet. And you'll get to completely explore through Dracula's castle, and doesn't say whether or not this is going to be like a standalone story or something like that. So I'll be interested on how you get access to this, because I know you had expressed concern that if it's going to be something like you have a potential chance of going to Dracula's castle, then it sounds like it's going to be a real pain in the ass to get to Dracula's castle.
Yeah. Its own mode, and I guess it's interesting, but if it becomes part of the whole thing that the Dead Cells has, where you go through one area, then another area, and then you have to, the end, you can go to Dracula's castle, that's going to be kind of tough. So we'll see on that. But for $10, that's not bad. That actually, I think that will sell pretty well for Motion Twin. So that's $10 coming out March 6th. Tron Identity coming out April of this year. I know you don't have much to talk about. Unlike you, I'm not big into Tron. I haven't seen any of the films, and to be quite honest with you, like, Tron has never been something that sells. Like, even the movies do not sell. They have like a niche audience that really is into Tron. And I guess they just so happen to be gamers too. And that makes sense to a certain extent with how Tron is. But they're doing I guess it was a visual novel on this one. I don't see this selling. Again, and from what I've seen too, none of the Tron games sell. So I don't know why they keep doing Tron games, other than that Disney is giving them the cash to do it. I guess they're going to try and keep making Tron a thing. I don't think it is going to be a thing at all, ever. But hey, that's it. All I can say about that. You have more to add, or is that?
No, it just looked like kind of a visual novel with some puzzle solving in it. So
Yeah.
might be neat for anyone who likes Tron and happens to also like visual novels. But that's really all I got.
Ghost Trick Phantom Detective coming out this summer. This is a remake of the game that came out in the DS. This was a cult hit when it came out in the DS. But as all cult hits, it means that no one bought it, and then people didn't realize how good it was until it was out of circulation. So this became one of those very rare games for the DS that if you ever got to play it, you kind of had to find less scrupulous ways to play it usually. So it going to the Switch is a big deal on this one. I just don't think it's going to sell very well either. I think the time for this to release when that further was hot it's too late at this point. It might get some okay sales, but not enough where maybe we see a sequel down the road.
I think it's nice to see because I think the only other way to play the game for the longest while was you basically had to play it on mobile for iOS or Android, and as expected, playing on a mobile phone isn't really just ideal for some people. So to see this one get another lease on life is kind of great to see, especially considering right now just a loose cartridge of the game on the secondhand markets is $100 now.
Yeah.
And if you're wanting a complete in-box example of the game, we're talking $140. Right. So just that's a lot of money to plunk down on a used copy of a game. But yeah, I love seeing that it's going to be a lot more easily accessible as a Switch HD remaster. And for anyone who had an interest in the DS game but saw the secondhand prices and just ended up saying, yeah, you know what, second thought, let's just go and maybe try to find another alternative way to play it on the high seas or something.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a great alternative for anyone who's just like, no, I want to own a copy of it legit. So great to see this. Definitely happy to see like cheaper ways for people to get collectors curiosity games. Maybe this is just kind of the gaming librarian in me. I can't wait to see the DS copy prices tank a bit due to this announcement.
Right. Now, this is $20, right? This is not going to be one of those things where, oh, it's a rare game, it's cheaper than this, so we're going to charge $60 for this. This has to be $20, right? Like this cannot be $60.
Yeah, because I think on mobile it's like maybe $10 or $15 on mobile. I can't remember the exact price. Now you've actually got me curious. I want to see if I can find it.
Right. So if they turn around and charge $40, $50, or $60 for this, I'm like, I don't care how rare this game is. I ain't buying it for that much. But $20, maybe even $30, I think is doable from there because they're also remaking the assets of this game. So I would say $20 is my purchase, but if it's $30, I could be okay with that in that end. But that is coming summer.
I want to check on the App Store real quick.
Okay. I think that might have been delisted.
But now it came back apparently.
Oh, okay.
Apparently what the issue was at least for iOS, it was removed due to compatibility issues with iOS version 9.
Oh, okay.
Then it was relisted finally that they finally just resolved the compatibility issues.
Okay.
Apparently it is free to start, and then there's an option to purchase it outright, and they are not listing how much it is to purchase it outright.
Of course not. Of course not. That would just be too easy. Okay, so Ghost Trick Phantom Detective coming this summer. No release date other than that. Yeah, that'll be interesting when that comes out. Deca Police. Date only 2023. I'm guessing that's going to be second half. That looks like an action RPG with arrest mechanics, I guess. Like the
I would say
style
more
looks
Persona-like.
okay.
Because the combat was turn-based, and you had like a little turn priority meter and stuff like that, and kind of looked like the dialogue had sort of like a visual novel sort of hook to it. So for me, it kind of looked like a very anime-styled, a very hyper anime-styled, cyberpunkish sort of mystery game with that's kind of structured like Persona. So the trailer was just kind of all over the place, but just I don't know. Maybe they might have a little bit more to show off on it and everything. So that's really kind of my opinion on it, because I was like, oh well, neat. You've got a little teaser of the battle system. You've got a lot of cutscenes, a couple of dialogue scenes that sort of look visual novel-y. Okay, neat.
Yeah, it looks interesting, but I would like to know more information about it. So that it only has a release date for 2023. So we'll see how that looks when they show more information on that. Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Demon. I gotta be honest with you, man. The more and more I'm watching, seeing of this game, the more and more I'm not interested. And I'm usually interested in Bayonetta stuff. So you learn on this one now that this is kind of an action game, but it's more along the lines of a Brothers Tales of Two Sons thing, where you're controlling two different characters that do two different things, essentially. And that the action isn't Bayonetta who's doing the action, it's the other character that you have that's doing all the fighting in this. So, okay. For a spinoff, I would be kind of interested, but since this is $60, like, the more I'm watching this, the more like I don't see this selling at all right now. This is coming March 17th, that's next month. I don't know about you, but I think this bombs pretty hard. What do you think?
I think like one of the neat things that they were showing was, just Cereza. Cereza doesn't do any attacking. She's mainly just playing the support role. And then you've got Cheshire being essentially the tank. So you basically have Cereza casting spells to lock the enemies down, debuff them, buff up Cheshire, and that's pretty much what you're focused on doing when you play Cereza. You're basically trying to get her out of danger and make sure that Cheshire is in front of all the danger, doing all the damage, and clearing the enemies. Some people might not be into that, especially since, like you mentioned, it's kind of like Brothers Two Sons, and the fact that the Bayonetta series has always been known for just high action, just adrenaline pumping counters and stuff like that. Just this is kind of a completely different direction from that. So if there's any Bayonetta lore nerds, they're probably gonna love this. But for people who have come to associate the Bayonetta franchise with just high action and stuff like that, if they look at what's been shown, they're probably gonna go, yeah, this is not my thing. I want action, and this ain't it. So I'm thinking this is possibly going to be a miss for Platinum. I mean, it might pick up steam if Platinum and Nintendo see that sales are low and sagging, and maybe they go, okay, let's price cut it. How about $40 then? At that point, might be an easier swallow at that point, but honestly, I'm just not too sure on this one. And I quite like the Bayonetta lore. Full disclosure from me, but yeah, even I'm just kind of questioning myself if this is going to be something I get immediately, or if I'm just going to be sort of deal hunting on Deku deals and seeing if there's a store that puts the hard copy on sale for a cheap price, if there's even a physical copy of this, or if it's just all digital. I'll probably just be watching the prices and see if it ever goes on sale.
I doubt this is going to be all digital if they're charging $60 for it. That would be insane. Like, if it's an all digital one, I would expect this to be a $20, $30 game. But for that to be $60 and be all digital, nah, it's coming physically, I think. But yeah, like the more I look at it, the more personally I'm not interested. But I'm also hearing the same from other people who are into Bayonettas. Like, I really am not interested in this game. So I think this bombs pretty hard. on this one. So that's Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and The Lost Demon coming March 17th. I guess pre-order now if you're interested. Don't ever pre-order. What am I doing? Okay, Splatoon 3 expansion pass was announced coming this spring in 2023. I'm not surprised by this. Well, first off, almost all games that Nintendo is doing is having expansion passes, but on top of that, Splatoon 3 sold really well. So this is not a surprise that they're doing this and they're announcing it so quickly. I think you said it first, and I have to agree with you. This is kind of disappointing for an expansion pass. Like, I think they had a new area you can be at, and then some single-player expansion stuff, and that's it. That's all it is on this one. So,
yeah, and the first part of the expansion pass is a little bit disappointing because it's essentially, hey, you can go to a new lobby area, and the new lobby area is essentially an updated version of the Splatoon 2 lobby area. And it's just updated to have all the functionality of Splatoon 3. So you can go to the salmon run, you can go to the other match modes and stuff like that. The Squid Sisters will occasionally do little singing concerts during Splatfest and stuff like that. And it was just like, dear God, I hope this is just a teaser for what all actually is going to be in part 1 of the release, because if an alternate lobby is your idea of just expansion content, I think a lot of Splatoon 3 fans are probably going to be disappointed.
yeah, I wouldn't be very happy if I had to spend money just to get a new lobby. That's pretty bad. So hopefully there is more than that to it, but that's coming. That first part's coming spring. The second part, there is no date at this point.
The story content looks interesting. It almost has me thinking of the THQ games, De Blob, if you remember those games.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're supposed to kind of add color to the world. That was kind of the vibe that I got from like the second part of the expansion pass, that it looks like a story mode where you're supposed to use your ink to recolor the world. So I'm really curious on the story expansion, but of course, it was just a little teaser for a couple seconds, so we have no substantial information to go with.
Yeah, so we'll see what that turns out to be. Maybe the pass will be worth it just for that single expansion alone, but as of right now, that's kind of weak. So that's coming out spring 2023. The second half, we don't know yet. Next one is Disney Illusion Island, coming out July 28th. This looks like, first off, the animation to this looks really good. I like the animation on this, but this looks like Rayman Legends with Disney characters. Am I hitting that right?
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got from it, especially when they were talking about how each character has their own sort of mobility and movement options. Mm-hmm. That some characters will be able to jump higher or do things to reach certain secret areas, and then combined with the fact that you can play the game with up to 4 players, and then you can combine all of your movement options and help each other get to all the secret areas and everything. And then of course they were showing off the fact that you can play boss battles with all 4 players, and basically everyone ends up having to coordinate to beat the bosses and everything. So yeah, just the cutscene animations look very good, very clean, very fluid. And then the game and movement from the gameplay segments that they were showing off looked very clean and very smooth. So just it definitely got my attention, and I was just like, okay, yeah, just I quite liked Rayman Legends, so yeah, just this one I will have to keep my eye on because it looks pretty damn good.
Right. I don't know if it's going to be exactly like Rayman Legends. It looks to be more cooperative than I believe Rayman Legends was, because Rayman Legends was more along the lines of a new Super Mario Brothers, where yes, it is 4 players, but it's more chaotic. You're kind of going against each other while playing with each other in that. So this looks a little more cooperative in that.
And for me, being able to play the game single player or cooperative is perfectly fine by me. So yeah, that's why for me, I'm pretty curious on it.
All right. So we will see how that turns out. Even if it's okay, this is going to sell well. So because Disney will market this to hell and back. So this will sell pretty well when that comes out. And that releases July 28th. coming up this summer. Octopath Traveler 2 has a new demo that's coming, that is now in the shop, I believe. And that's coming out this month, the 24th. Not much more to say, other than there's a new demo, and that's it. I mean...
Well, there is one important distinction with this new demo.
Okay.
The new demo will allow you to play the first starting part of the game, and you will then be able to migrate the save file from this demo into the final retail copy.
Yes.
So, kind of continuing the tradition for some of these HD 2D pixel games that Square's been pushing out, that the demo will allow you to push your save data into the final retail copy. So it's kind of great to see that, especially if you kind of want to give the sequel a try, see if it's your thing, and then just if it turns out it does, you don't have to start completely back from the beginning. Just the retail game will do the usual, hey, we see you have demo data, we're going to migrate it and turn it into final retail game data.
I like that Square Enix is doing it with these games, that they're allowing you to play a section of the game, like the first, I guess that's the first half part of the game in a demo, where you can then migrate it back into the game when you get it. I think that's a fantastic move, and I like the demos when they do that. So that's really good, because that gets people attached to that game, so they'll want to buy it if it's good, and they want to continue it. So that is a great thing. I don't normally do these demos, because if I'm interested in it, if I'm really interested in it, I don't want to play the demo. I'm going to wait until I get the full game. But if it's something I'm not sure about, I will wait until the game's released, then play the demo, and then, okay, it's good, I'll buy it, and then I'll just go ahead and buy it and continue. So it's a great move on their end. So that comes out this month on the 24th. I think sales are going to be pretty good with this. I think Octopath Traveler 1 had enough of a fan base, and then Triangle Strategy did very well. I think this is going to sell very well as well on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, this is probably yet another solid seller under Square Enix's belt. And since Nintendo's doing publishing and promotion on it, Nintendo's probably going to make sure that it's going to be just right in the mindset and everything.
Well, it's coming out on PlayStation and PC as well, so it is a but you're right, I think Nintendo is doing the marketing on this one. So it'll be interesting what the sales become like for that game, but I think it's going to sell pretty well. Next one is We Love Katamari REROLL. I am surprised that this is getting remade for, I guess, a couple of reasons. I know that Katamari Damacy REROLL did pretty well, but enough to warrant a sequel? I don't know about that. Are they just hoping that enough people like Katamari Damacy to want to get the new one? Because from what I remember when We Love Katamari came out on the PS2 years ago, is that it didn't quite match up to Katamari Damacy, at all. In fact, I think that's been kind of Katamari Damacy through its entire time. The sequels just got less and less good as time went on. So unless they're doing something different with all these new games that are coming out, I think that you're going to have the same problems, where the first one sells pretty well, but then subsequent ones go down and down and down and down and down.
I think this one's going to be yet another niche game, probably low printing volume to boot. So I think the Katamari REROLL physical printing was also quite low, and I don't think the sales were quite too strong, especially since as much as I love the Katamari games, they're a bit of a relic from the PS2 era and everything.
Yeah. And these sold okay in Japan. I'm looking at numbers right now. Apparently, is this Katamari? Oh, this is Katamari Damacy. Okay. According to Google and Wikipedia right now, by the end of 2005, in Japan only, it sold 116,000 copies. This is We Love Katamari. Everything that I've heard with Katamari Damacy is that everyone loved the first one. And everyone wanted to play the first one, and they enjoy the first one. But the subsequent sequels, like Beautiful Katamari and stuff like that, just did not land. It eventually lost steam at some point. I don't really get exactly why they're going to go through the sequels again. I guess they're gonna do it hoping they're gonna get more sales, but I don't see that happening. I really don't. And this is probably gonna be about $30, which, okay, fine. $30 is fine for this. I think this is gonna be the last one. I think this will come out, it won't sell very well, and then anything that they planned after is scrapped. Because you know damn well that if the first one did well, they're going to automatically think the second one's doing well, so they're going to start developing the third one in a remake. And I think that's going to be cut short on that one.
And I think if there is a physical copy, if it's anything like a Katamari REROLL, the physical copy is probably going to be $40.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
And they're usually limited, so that's fine, I guess. But I bought Katamari REROLL on Steam for I think about $15 on sale, maybe $12 on sale. I don't recall really, but yeah, like I knew what I was getting into, so that's fine. But I also know what I'm getting into with We Love Katamari, which is a game that doesn't quite live up to the first. So unless they're really changing it up, I don't see this selling well. So yeah, that comes out June 2nd for Switch. I'm guessing it's also coming out to the other consoles and to Steam, so look forward to that, I guess. Sea of Stars coming out August 29th. The only excitement that I have for this is that it's coming out in August, so we know a date. I am excited by this game, and apparently there is the guest composer, which people seem to think the guest composer means he's composing the whole game. Guys, he's not composing the whole game. He's composing a song or two, and that's it. That's all that means. Everything about this looks great to me, and I'm excited for it. I just want to know the price. And I have not seen anything involving a price for Sea of Stars. But other than that, I'm excited by this. And I think this actually will sell pretty well, I think. So you're not particularly excited? Am I right on that?
It's not that I'm not excited. It's more just I'm definitely curious on the price on it, and I'm hoping that just this with this guest composer announcement, it's not gonna just end up jacking the price just because guest composer, because that would be a real shame to see.
Yeah, these are the guys that developed The Messenger, which was a decent game. I think that sold pretty well, but I'm excited by the game because of the type of game it is. I think it will sell pretty well if the game turns out to be very good, but that's only if that happens. If it sells, if it actually turns out to be pretty good. Other than that, yeah, I don't see it doing much more else. And there still is no price on this, so they have to price this pretty aggressively, I'd say. I think 30 would be fine on this. Anything higher, that's kind of a big ask. So
yeah, this next announcement is something that is very near and dear to my heart.
Oh yes.
Etrian Odyssey Origins Collection coming out on June 1st.
Yes.
Love the Etrian Odyssey games. I think I only when they started to do the remakes on 3DS, I only got Etrian Odyssey 1. I never ended up having the chance to pick up the remakes for 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So to be able to now get them in just this mega collection is fantastic to see. It's kind of neat how they're solving the dual screen problem, because they're sort of squishing the screen in half, where the left half of the screen is kind of the dungeon wandering and stuff like that, and then the right half of the screen is like your inventory, your maps, and everything of that sort. And it is a bit on the pricey side, because the eShop right now has the entire collection of all 3 games listed at $80.
Huh.
So, a little bit of a spicy meatball, that one.
So, but they also said that they're going to be selling those games separately.
Individually. Yeah.
Do you have the prices on those?
Yes.
30 each?
No, 40 each.
Oh.
So essentially it's buy 2, get 1 free if you do the bundle.
I have all the Etrian Odyssey games on the what do you call it? On the 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
So And this is coming to Steam, just so this might become to other consoles. So this is coming to Steam. I don't know. That's for me at least. That might be a pass. Like I have the games. I have the games. So maybe for convenience sake, when it becomes cheaper, I'll definitely give it a purchase. But $40 for these games? Like,
yep, or buying all 3 for $80, which is essentially buy 2, get the third game for free. But and then the store page also mentions that there will also be some optional character portraits added to all 3 of the games. Etrian Odyssey 1 will have a portrait of Joker from Persona 5 Royal and Ringo from Soul Hackers 2. And then in Etrian Odyssey 2, there'll be a portrait of a Demi-Fiend from Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne and Teddy from Persona 4 Golden. And then in Etrian Odyssey 3, there will be a portrait of Nahobino from Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Aegis from Persona 3 Portable. As much as I love Etrian Odyssey, I'm in the camp of $80 for all 3 games. That's a bit of a spicy meatball.
and these are all old games, and I don't think. And are they even saying that these are the untold versions, or are these the original ones from the GBA? That's the other question.
They didn't specify, but on the eShop listing, they've got screenshots, and it looks like it's the untold version. So
okay.
So it looks like it's got a lot of the artwork from the 3DS.
Okay, I mean,
the graphics look a little bit more polished up too.
Yes,
definitely. So that's definitely good to see. But yeah, just again, I'm definitely with anyone who's in the camp of $80 for all 3 is a bit pricey.
Yeah, definitely. Especially since one of these games can last you for what, like 30, 40 hours? So if you haven't played the game, then if you haven't played any of them and you're interested, then yeah, even then, I don't know.
Yeah, I think 30 or 40 hours is if you do just like a basic clear, but if you do like a completionist clear, you're easily talking like 100 plus hours.
That is true, yes. Still, $80 for all 3 and $40 for each is way too pricey. I think they're pricing themselves out here.
Yeah.
I think the only reason they're doing this is they're planning on doing another one at this point. And the pricing that they're having on this is not good. So I think this is, to me, I own the games, so it's a pass for me. But man, I'm a fan of this game too. Yeah, I couldn't recommend this based on the price. Like that's pricey, dude. I like the games, but for that price for all 3, that's pretty pricey. And for games that are like what, like over 15 years old now, like these are pretty old.
Yeah, because the story's still based on the original DS releases. Mm-hmm. So there's that. I mean. The only benefit is you've got anime cutscenes for the story stuff now, and I mean, just some people may not feel that the upcharge may even be worth it. So I mean, it's just kind of a take it for what you will.
Yeah. So I'm excited for it being re-released. I do not think it's selling well based on that price. That's insane. I'm sorry. As much as I like the games, like even if I didn't own all of the games on the 3DS, like those prices are too much at that point. If you would have told me they were all for $60 and they're 20 each, then like that's a good price. Maybe I could say $30 each and then maybe get one, but 40 for each? Nah, I don't think so. Like that's too pricey. Hopefully they drop the price, but I doubt they will.
I'm just a bit shocked at kind of looking at the price in real time.
Oh my god, that's terrible. Okay, Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp is finally being released on April 21st. Not much more to add, really. This is the remakes of 1 and 2. This has been complete, but they pushed it back because of the war that's happening in Ukraine. Not much more to add here. I mean, Like,
Yeah, pretty much just WayForward is the one who was contracted to work on this. So generally, WayForward's pretty good at any of the remake projects that they're assigned on. That they are pretty much faithful to a T. So for anyone who missed out on Advance Wars 1 and 2 back on GBA, you will be getting a nice updated experience with HD graphics and just same gameplay that you know and love.
yeah. I don't know about this being 60 though, but I guess if you are a fan of the games, like, why not? I guess if you're also a fan of Wargroove, that this might not be such a bad purchase, but for $60, I don't know about that. Kirby has returned to Dreamland Deluxe, showed off another mode that is going to be coming out when it comes out on the 24th of this month, and that is the Migdalor expansion. So basically what it is when you complete the story mode in the original game, they're going to have a whole other mode involving this one character that you have to level up and level up their abilities to get through the rest of the game. So this is kind of what we were questioning about this game specifically, as to why this is a $60 game and is it going to be worth that cash when it's just going to be a remake of an old Wii game. So it turns out they're adding more to it than that, which I think is good. Does it warrant the $60 price tag though? What do you think?
It may. If you like the Kirby games, kind of an interesting addition that they also showed off was that they're adding a whole bunch of like Mario Party style games to boot. So if you kind of like want some Mario Party stuff, but in a Kirby themed skin, then there'll be a little collection of games that you'll be able to play with like up to 4 friends on one TV and everything.
2D Kirby games, in my opinion, I think should be cheaper than what they are. I would say if it hits 40, I might purchase it, but 60 is a little too pricey on my end, I think. But it's good that they're adding more to this. Like, that I'm happy with. But other than that, looks fine. I mean, it looks good, but I'm glad there's more to it. But for 60, I don't know about that. But we'll see. They sell pretty well, I think. About 1 million copies for each game, so this might turn out pretty well.
Yeah, and I know that some people had thought that the game was pretty fun on Wii, and then it kind of became a bit of a point of discussion for Kirby fans. And as with all cult classic games, just when the cult classic status happens, the game's just far gone from production. So just anyone who's wanting to pick it up on Wii, now they've got a second chance to pick it up on Switch and not pay the scalper tax of any collectors trying to pawn off their Wii copies off for a high price.
Yeah, so that's good. So that comes out on the 24th of this month. What is being released now for everybody, starting today, is that Game Boy games are coming to Nintendo Switch Online. So if you already have Nintendo Switch Online, you're going to get access to Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, and Game Boy Color games, which is cool. But they're also having Game Boy Advance games on the expansion pass. Yeah, I gotta say, locking away GBA on the expansion pass, not a good move. I know some will get a kick out of seeing some of the Game Boy games on NSO, which is fine. Those are cool. But to then get off Game Boy Advance games, I don't know about that. I think that's a bad move on Nintendo's part.
I think it's more them trying to make the justification for the reason why the expansion pack tier is worth the money, especially since you've also got Genesis stuff and N64 stuff gated to the premium level plan as well too. So I think that's more than likely why Nintendo has gated off the GBA games to the expansion pass tier of Nintendo Switch Online.
Even so, I mean, I look at that and you are right. They're trying to justify that, but it's still not a good justification to get that expansion pass. To be honest, I can finally play GBA games. Like, okay, great. There's other ways we can play GBA games if we really want to. So, yeah, not interested in the expansion pass, which is sad because I would have liked to have played some of those games from the Game Boy Advance on there. But yeah, I'm not paying a premium to do that. That's crazy.
Yeah, on the technical end, it is neat that for all these games, you will be able to do you will be able to use the multiplayer functionality with other Nintendo Switch Online members. So for anyone who remembers the cumbersome times when you had to break out the link cable to kind of link people's consoles together, yeah, that's going to be a relic of the past now, because you'll just be able to just send a message to or send an invite to one of your friends online with Nintendo Switch Online, and then just have them basically link up with your game and everything. And it does have me curious, because with the 3DS store going offline in March, we will be losing the original Game Boy Pokemon games. So I wonder if there might be a future release where we might see the Pokemon games being listed on this service as well too,
Yeah.
because just the ability to do trades and stuff would definitely be interesting, especially if there's any sort of interconnectivity with Pokemon Home.
I could see them being a bastard and selling those ROMs separately from that service. Especially
and
if
that's a completely fair thought too.
Yeah, and especially if they want to keep it connected to Pokemon Home. So I can see them saying, "Oh, you want those games? $10." I can see them doing that. But they are releasing Pokemon trading card games, so maybe there's a chance that they put those on NSO. But
yeah,
I don't see that.
A second interesting technical point is for the Game Boy games, you will be able to play them with 3 different filters. You'll be able to play with the original Game Boy filter, and when we say original, we're talking the brick-shaped DMG 01 model Game Boy, the one that was the original.
The pea green.
So you'll be able to play with that filter, or if you got in during the Game Boy Pocket era, you can switch to the Game Boy Pocket filter, and then there's also going to be a Game Boy Color filter. If one of those particular filters means a lot to you, then yeah, you'll be able to swap it to whichever one you want to go with. I do want to touch on the games that they did announce for the future release.
Okay.
For Game Boy Color, you already mentioned Pokemon, the Pokemon TCG. You'll also have both of the Legend of Zelda Oracle Seasons and Ages games. Those will be coming out in the future.
Mhm.
And then Kirby's Tilt and Tumble will also be another Game Boy Color game coming in the future.
Yeah, that's neat. That's neat.
Yeah, for GBA, you've got Metroid Fusion, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Fire Emblem, F-Zero Maximum Velocity, and the first Golden Sun.
I mean, those are cool, but I'm not spending $60 a year to have that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and again, I'm not disagreeing with that either. Just it is a bit of a shame to see that locked off in the higher tier, but go and play on the devil's advocate side. The only thing I can think of is just Nintendo's trying to justify the higher tier and trying to lure people into getting the higher tier, and that's the only thing I can think of.
I agree with you, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I mean, Game Boy Advance is one of my favorite consoles of all time, but I have ways where I can play those games. I think putting it on NSO was a good idea, but gating it off as an expansion on the expansion part is a bad move. It's not justifiable. Like, if you would, like, I'll put it this way: if they put GameCube games on there on the expansion, then I would be like, okay, I understand that. That makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
but
and at that point, you would be able to twist people's arms enough to go, okay, got it. If I want GameCube games, I've just got to fork up the extra and just go with the expansion pass tier.
yeah, that I would understand. But Game Boy Advance games, you're not. What technical prowess do you need in order to get that to work? Basically the same that you're doing with the Game Boy games. It's anyway. Yeah, so I don't think it's worth it, but that's available now if you want it. So yeah, interesting. I'm glad it's there, but God, to put it in that area, like to the expansion, I think it's a bad move. That's available now. You can go check that out if you want, if you have NSO. Metroid Prime Remastered is coming out on the 22nd physically. It's available now if you want to get it digitally. The price is $40 on this, so I guess I should be happy that they're not charging us $60 for the game. That said, $40? What do you think? $40?
Graphics look a little cleaner.
Yes.
Which is nice. And I think the biggest change is the fact that you'll be able to play with a regular controller. You're not going to be constrained to having to play with the Joy-Con to emulate the Wiimote and Nunchuck controls from the Wii version remaster. And then I think one of the other big change, which I feel is by far the most important, is there will be a new modern shooter scheme that uses both analog sticks.
Which is good. Those are good things to have on there. I would have preferred to be 30. I know 20 was going to be a tall ask, but I think 30 would have been a nice price point for this. But I guess, then again, like I said, I guess we should be happy that they're not charging 60 for this, because they could have justified it and did it. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the other question I have is what's going to become of some of the connectivity features? Because I never got a chance to play around with the Wii U remaster of Metroid Prime 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I know on the original GameCube that if you hooked up your GBA copy of Metroid Fusion, then I think you got like an extra energy tank, and then you got like a special encyclopedia entry. But I don't know how they ended up sort of resolving that issue for the Wii remaster. So personally, I'm a bit curious on just what they ended up doing, or what they end up doing with that sort of connectivity in the Switch version remaster. But I'm sure someone will probably figure it out in the next few hours.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. So, yeah, available now. It's going to be available physically for the same price on the 22nd. I think it's good that the physical version is the same price too, though. So, I guess for the physical version, I'd be okay with the 40, but for digital, but anyway, that's fine. I might pick that up. Master Detective Archives Rain Code. Coming in on June 30th. They have shown this off a couple of times, and I'm still not entirely sure what this is. I guess it's a detective game of sorts?
Yeah, it's a visual novel. What is probably the more important point is this is a game that is done by the original creator of the first three Danganronpa games, because I believe after the first three, he ended up leaving the group behind the games to start his own studio, and then just leaving his own studio, he ended up just kind of working on this, and this is pretty much going to be his new game, since I think the Danganronpa games have been taken over by a completely different team. So for anyone who's a major fan of the Danganronpa games, you're probably going to want to keep your eye on this one.
All right, well, I haven't played any of the Danganronpa games. It's one of those bucket list games I do want to get around to, even though I own all three of them and still have not played them. But yeah, I think if they start advertising that part, it might get more sales. But I'm not entirely sure what the sales are going to be on that. But it'll be interesting when the reviews come out with that and see how that is. So that is June 30th. That it's coming. No word on price, I don't think, on this one. So that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Here is something that got me excited. I actually yelled when they announced this. Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 Remastered, coming this summer. I did not expect this to come out. Like, everything I've heard about these games is that no one cares about them. They're not going to remake them. They're not going to remaster them. No one wants this. And that is a shame, because I like these games on GameCube. I really like them. That they're coming out now this summer, oh my god, I am so happy. That said, there is no word on what the price is for this game, for these games. They look updated. They look like the visuals are updated. But that said, as much as I do like the Baten Kaitos games, they had issues. Are they going to smooth those issues out, or are they going to keep them in? What do you think? Have you played Baten Kaitos?
The first one I did. I never got a chance to get the second one, and unfortunately, I ended up having to sell my copy of the first game due to some stuff that happened in my past in order to pay the rent. So there was a point in my life where I was just like, I'd love to, try to pick up both games. And of course, I look at what the secondhand prices on those are, and I'm just like, ooh, wow, that is very expensive for me. I guess I'm not going to replay these.
Yeah.
So to see both of them coming out sometime in the summer was kind of exciting news, because I quite like the first one, even though if it had its pain points and everything. But yeah, I think I'm really kind of in your camp that I am just wondering if there's any sort of quality of life changes or maybe some rebalancing done, because I think there was some stuff that involved like having to wait for time to pass in order to upgrade a card or something.
Yeah.
And I think there was a speedrunner who ended up having to be manually disconnected from their game when they were trying to speedrun the game on Twitch, because they basically had the game sitting still on like a screen while the in-game clock was ticking away so they could get a card upgrade or something. So yeah, I'm wondering if stuff like that has been resolved, because if not, then oh god, I can already see people complaining and going, oh god, why do we have to, sit and wait for this card to upgrade? This is BS.
Yeah. And the way that this battle system is, back then people were it was kind of a mixed bag. Some loved it, some hated it, but since I was into trading card games, I was fine with it. I really liked what they were doing. So I think the audience there's more of an audience that is okay with that type of style of battle system. So I think more people will get into this game. That being said, this is not going to sell. It's not going to sell well at all. That's why I'm stunned that this is getting re-released. Unless this is a cheap purchase, which I do not think it's going to be. I think this is going to end up being a $40 game. But if it's like 30 or less, then that might be very good on there. But I think it's going to be 40. What do you think?
Yeah, 40 seems likely, unless they've got some major changes and somehow they're going to justify it by saying, oh yeah, we're going to ask for a price of $60.
Ugh.
So yeah, we're definitely going to be in the lurch on this. So I'm definitely going to be kind of wondering what the prices are going to look like, because yeah, especially with seeing the Etrian Odyssey HD collection being priced at $80 for 3 games, that's why I'm just kind of curious if maybe we might see a price point of like $60 or something.
I doubt it's going to be that expensive, but yeah, I think they're selling you that in one package. So I think 40 is where it's going to land up. If they get 60, there better be some massive improvements. But I think it's going to be 40 on that end. So we'll see. That is coming out summer. No other date given. 2023. Another one where I yelped in excitement. Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time. I don't know if you remember this game. Do you remember Fantasy Life?
I do. This was kind of interesting to see, because I was just like, all right, well, I didn't think that the Fantasy Life series had that much of a fan base, but hey, just always glad to see niche games getting more releases.
Fantasy Life shipped, keyword shipped, over 1 million units worldwide. Although people are having a hard time finding sales data on this. But yeah. I played this, and this was on my game of the year that year. I really liked this game. This was a lot of fun. You play as a character, and all you do is a whole bunch of different jobs. Like you have your fighter, magic, and healing class, and everything like that. But you can also cook. You can also do all sorts of other different things, and all of them were fun. All of them were fun, which was something that surprised me. So when I saw that this is coming with a sequel, I was like, yes.
I do think that the time travel mechanic is interesting, because it almost kind of throws a element of a Link to the Past into the mix, because I know the trailer mentioned that you get sent back 1,000 years to like the olden days of the village and everything, and that you're going to have to balance between the present day and the past versions of the villages, and it almost has me wondering if you've got sort of like a Chrono Trigger like element where, you know, you might not be able to unlock the good version of a piece of treasure in the past, and you'll have to wait until you get to the future to unlock like the best version of that present.
I don't know the price for this. Is the release date still? It's this year, right?
Yeah, sometime this year, and I don't think the eShop listing is even up yet for it.
It's not, no.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was $40 when it came out on 3DS. When that came out on 3DS, people complained it was too expensive. So unless this is a really expanded game, which it might be, $60 might be a lot to ask for. I'm thinking $40 is probably where it should land. It should be. Unless, again, it's a much bigger game than it's leading on. I think it should be around the $40 range. But it will probably end up being $60. Just watch. Just watch. It will do it. So yeah, I'm excited, but I want to know the price. So we'll see what happens with that. So Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, 2023. Do you want more? You have more to add on that?
Definitely going to be curious on how it looks and everything. I know my commentary on it when I was watching live was, hey, you know, it looks like it's Animal Crossing meets A Link to the Past. And maybe depending on how intricate they do the time travel mechanics, maybe it's got a little bit of Chrono Trigger in it. So we'll definitely have to see how it pans out, because yeah, I think that's mostly what I remembered from the Fantasy Life 3DS release, that everyone generally didn't look on it too fondly. This is a neat game, but there's not enough to justify the price of $40, and we think $40 is just a little bit expensive for the asking price.
Yeah, I agree too. Like I really liked the game, but it was way too pricey for what it was offering. So, okay, that comes out 2023. We have no date, solid date for that as of right now. A teaser was put out for Professor Layton and the New World of Steam. Basically, guy in top hat says hi, and then that's it. That's the trailer, really. But no surprise here that a Professor Layton game's coming out. Those sell really well. Not much more to add to there, is there?
Yeah, just kind of a, hey, it's going to be during the age of Steam, so look forward to it.
Okay, there you go. And that does not mean it's code for it's coming to Steam. Don't think that. It's just, oh, Professor Layton on Steam confirmed. No, it's not. Stop it. The last thing that was shown was Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, we talked about this when we talked about Hogwarts Legacy this last episode. This is going to sell a lot of copies. That said, we had a little bit of a controversy yesterday. You want to go ahead and talk about it?
Yes. So last night, someone over at Nintendo of America put the eShop listing for Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom up. And the controversy was that the listing price was $69.99. And no, you're not hearing crazy. That is absolutely correct what you heard. They're trying to price this at the same level as a PS5 game or a full-blown Xbox Series X game. Of course, naturally, as with all things, the internet just went completely wild with it. You had people on the hardened Zelda fan camp going, man, just with how much fun I had with Breath of the Wild, $70 is a completely fair price. And then, of course, you had people who were not Zelda fans and were maybe deeply entrenched in the PlayStation camp going $70 for a Nintendo Switch game? Nintendo must be smoking drugs. That was kind of the discourse that I had seen yesterday. And then immediately after that, over a couple hours, suddenly the price on that eShop listing vanished.
It's back actually.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to get to.
Oh,
and
sorry.
so last night when the price vanished, a whole bunch of online stores decided to pull their listings right off immediately. So Best Buy, Walmart, Target, Amazon, GameStop, they all pulled their listings off. Or if they decide to leave the listing, they pulled the price off, disabled the pre-order button, and that was it. And it was just like, okay, this is gonna get real interesting. Did something happen? And then we get to today. They show kind of a nice little like montage of just all the stuff that you can do in game, and no price was announced. So naturally, everyone was just like, okay, well, wonder if Nintendo's going to stick with that, $70 price tag, or, maybe that was someone accidentally messing up the listing. And then after the presentation ended, you finally had stores starting to list the game at the game price, and the Nintendo eShop listing coming back. And yes, it is back to $70. Best Buy's got it listed for $70, and I imagine every other retailer has gone and updated their postings now.
Yeah, I don't like that. Well, let me be honest too. I'm not a big fan of Breath of the Wild, but I'm also not a big fan of Zelda in 3D as it is. So bear that in mind. That being said, it's gonna sell anyway. It's gonna sell anyway. Like, people have been waiting for this game, and Nintendo has this. And I don't understand why. Nintendo has this reputation of being the good guys when it comes to the console makers. That really isn't the case usually. That's really not. They're just as bad as the rest of the other console makers. And this proves it. Like, they saw that, oh, we can get away with doing this for this game, definitely. Like, could they have done it with, like, Splatoon or Pikmin? No. But they know they could have gotten away with this, and they're going to get away with this. Like, how many people are really going to sit there and go, yeah, I was going to buy it for... I played, like, hundreds of hours of Breath of the Wild, but now that's $10 extra? Forget it. I'm not buying it. No, they're going to cave. They're going to buy it. So, they know it. They know damn well that they can get away with it. So, what do you think? Do you think that this will have a dent in sales for them?
Likely not.
Yeah.
Mostly because just I have some friends in meat space who have already gone on $10 extra. I put in 100+ hours into the main game, and just an extra $10 is worth it. So don't care. Just, this is probably going to be one of the best games ever. And then, of course, you've got some people with kind of the spicy hot takes on it and everything. I saw one person's hot take with $10 more for a Zelda asset flip. Fuck this. Fuck Nintendo. God. I'm just like, I don't think you understand what an asset flip is there, bud, but sure, whatever.
Now, to be fair, too, if you got the Nintendo game voucher that were on sale, I guess, what, a couple weeks ago?
They went back on sale as of this past Monday.
Oh, this past Monday. Okay. So if you get that, you can use the voucher for this game. There is an option to do that. So if you want to do that...
Yeah, because it is technically eligible, and at that point, it would technically make the game $50. So for anyone who's a bit price conscious, there you go. There's your price-saving tip of the day. Just go digital, get the Nintendo 2-game voucher pack, and buy Tears of the Kingdom for one of your 2 slots on that game voucher, and there you go. You save $20.
There you go. Yeah, so that is going to be interesting. Like, there is... I haven't been on Twitter that much today, but there really hasn't been much of a talk about, oh, man, Nintendo's doing this? How could they? Like, more people are just resigned to, yeah, it was eventually going to happen, so, oh, well. That's kind of what it's turned into. So they're going to get away with it. They'll be able to do it for this game. But I think, here's a question I have, okay? Do you think games after Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom are going to be $70 on Switch? Or do you think... here's my thought, okay? I think this will be the only game they do on the Switch for $70. And then when the new console, or the new Switch starts, or the new... what do you call it? The new system starts to be rolled out, and they have new games for that new system. Then new games for that new system will be $70 going forward. I think this will be the only Switch game that will be $70. What do you think?
Yeah, that seems like the most plausible thought, to be honest. This will be probably one of the few games that'll be $70, and then maybe right around the corner of the new Switch successor console, then they'll be like, oh hey, so the new Switch successor console is going to be so much more powerful, so due to this we're going to have to increase the price of all games to $70, so just hope you're not upset at that, and then that's just going to be what it is.
So yeah, like I'm looking at the eligible games right now for the voucher system. So Pikmin 4, which is $60, you can get that as well. You can pre-order that. Tears of the Kingdom, Advance Wars 1 and 2, Bayonetta Origins, Kirby's Return to Dreamland. If you haven't gotten Fire Emblem Engage, that's on there as well. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Yeah, like a bunch of games that if you haven't picked it up yet, you can go ahead and use the voucher system on this. If you have 2 games that you haven't gotten yet, or you're pre-ordering and you don't mind the digital one, get the 2 vouchers and just get Tears of the Kingdom through there. So, yeah. Other than that, like, I'm sort of interested still in Tears of the Kingdom, only if they fix the damn weapon degradation system. That system annoyed the shit out of me when I was playing that game. It's what led me to not play it after a while. It's like, oh, I got this good sword. Oh, it broke. Oh, I got this. It broke.
And then really of course annoying. The Master Sword wasn't infallible either. That the Master Sword had a cooldown period that when it quote unquote broke, you had to wait for it to basically heal itself and put itself back together again. And then once it did, then you could go back to equipping the Master Sword. So
that's freaking annoying.
It was a bit of a bummer, because of course, just that was the one thing that I remember wanting to do almost immediately when I got into the game and found out that there was a heart requirement and all that other junk. And it was like, oh, well, you need the hearts to have the physical strength to wield this weapon, so you're going to need to boost up your hearts. So went out of my way, searched for the hearts, and then after much searching, I get it, and then the game gives me a big fat warning going, hey, just so you know, the Master Sword does break. So, but the good part is the Master Sword does heal itself. So, just food for thought. It was just like, okay, well, that's a bit of a bummer. I figured with it being the Master Sword that it would have been, just you're playing with the godly sword that, that no one can challenge, and that was going to be it. But to find out that now I have to deal with the fact that the sword will break, okay, well, that's kind of a buzzkill.
Yeah, that's weird.
One minor thought I want to add, and it's mostly in reflection to something that was leaked back in December of last year. So on the Chinese internet, somebody leaked that there was going to be a limited edition Tears of the Kingdom console, and it was going to have white and gold Joy-Cons, and the system was just going to be flat black, and there were pictures of the box and everything, and people were just super stoked to see this. And I thought that this console was going to be a sure shot announcement that we were probably going to see something like, oh, by the way, do you like Tears of the Kingdom already? Well, we've got a bonus for you. Here's a super cool limited edition console that's got the game preloaded on it. We're gonna ask for $400 for it or whatever. But yeah, did not see it. So I was just like, okay, neat. I guess maybe that's an announcement for later, or maybe that's just not coming to America. Maybe that's a European exclusive. So I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that stinks, but did you really need another system?
I know some people have wanted to make the upgrade to the OLED model, so
right, yeah.
So this would have been like probably their preferred choice, but I know I've told some of my friends that if it does come out to North America, I probably am going to skip it because I've kind of made my own little homemade limited edition with the Skyward Sword Joy-Cons.
Okay, so let's get into our final thoughts for this direct that happened just today, actually. I mean, it's an okay direct. They showed a lot of stuff for their games that's already out that they're going to add more into. But other than that, in regards to things that will sell a lot and will bring in a lot of sales for the system, I mean, not much. They seem to think Bayonetta Origins will be big. I do not think that at all. I think it's going to tank. I think it's not going to do well at all. I think Kirby's Return to Dreamland might do a little bit better than I initially thought. I think that might turn out pretty well. Tears of the Kingdom will do fantastic, of course. Pikmin 4 will do its normal amount of sales. But other than that, this is there were games I was excited for, but if I was looking at like the next 6 months and how Nintendo might be, aside from Zelda, not great. I think. What do you think?
Overall, just there were some neat announcements. Definitely kind of appreciated some of the announcements for games that were in the distant past very limited release games that are now going to be games that will be much easier to find. Kind of surprised that the Zelda announcement was a bit on the light side, mostly because I was expecting them to do something like a gigantic deep dive going, hey, here's what's going on, here's the base story, here's the new gadget for this game, and here's what the gadget's all about, and yes, you're going to be able to improve the gadget, but just that's just what it is, and all this other junk. But yeah, didn't even see that. It was just kind of a bunch of gameplay clips, and I know that the one gadget that they showed off was that Link's got a new gauntlet, and this gauntlet lets him do sort of like telekinetic things. Mm-hmm. So there's that, and then of course, I know I was seeing some commentary from the speedrunner community of just some of the vehicles that Link was piloting, with speedrunners joking around going, "Oh yes, thank you Nintendo, you've given me the ability to make a helicopter in Tears of the Kingdom now. I don't have to kind of mangle one up from like a door and using the time stop spell."
Overall, what do you think the sales are going to be like in this? What do you think this is going to be a strong year for Nintendo, or is this going to be what do you think?
It's probably going to be a pretty strong one, especially because for as much people are bitching about the $70 price, I mean, me and you both know that this is going to be a strong seller, despite what people may bitch and gripe about. Yes. Saying, oh god, just $70, just Nintendo, fucking dumb, just you guys are fucking greedy or whatever. So yeah, as much as people will bitch and complain, they'll probably be right on the front lines going, but I can't miss this because I like Breath of the Wild, so I guess I have to drop the $70 and buy it.
Yep, pretty much. Like, and Nintendo has you guys by the balls at that point. So yeah, if you've been waiting for this for God since the beginning of the Switch, which a lot of people have, yeah, you're buying it. That's it. And even though it's $70, you're still gonna buy it, and Nintendo knows that. While we were talking, I was doing the voucher system on Nintendo, and yeah, I just bought it. I haven't gotten engaged yet, so I was like, you know what? I'll get engaged, and then I'll wait for it. You know what? I'll just get it. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the only way that you save money on the purchase, really. Just buy Tears of the Kingdom as a digital copy with the voucher system, because it brings the price down to $50 instead of paying $70. So if you're price averse, again, kind of like what we said earlier in the podcast, just do the Nintendo game voucher pass system. Get your 2 vouchers, burn one on Tears of the Kingdom, burn the second one on something else. Maybe you're one of those crazy ones who thinks a Bayonetta Origins game is worth the $50, so yeah, maybe burn your second one on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, or if you really want to risk it on the new Pokemon, I mean, you could do that too. But anyway.
In my opinion, I think the announcements were pretty good. I think there's probably a lot of people a bit underwhelmed that they didn't go into as much detail as they may have hoped for Tears of the Kingdom, but it is what it is.
They're going to do a massive deep dive before, like a month before.
Totally.
Do that. Yeah. So that's, I think that's what's going to end up happening on that one. But yeah, personally, there are things I'm excited about until I saw the prices. But other than that, in regards to sales, except for like Zelda. I think this might be a quiet month. It might be a quiet year for Nintendo, I think. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Okay, well, that is it for this episode of Capital Games. Tune in next time where we have our weekly dividend, unless something big happens for 2 days from now. But tune in for that, and we'll discuss everything that has happened throughout the week that we haven't talked about yet. I am The Wiz.
I'm Zero.
And we'll talk to you next time. Bye. Thank you for checking out Capital Games, where we cover the business side of the video game industry. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed the video. You can also subscribe to the podcast if you prefer to have it on your podcast feed. And check us out on our socials and email us if you have a question, comment, or suggestion. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll hear from you next time.